Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's doing okay. This week we're going to finish up section 3 in our current units. And yeah, so quick recap of what we started with last week with section 3. We're talking about some basic loans that are available to you when you get a little older. Um, Credit cards, mortgages, student loans. We're going to talk a little bit more about mortgages next week, so we don't have to worry too much about that. But what we are going to talk about, or what we did talk about, is just some small loans here, talking about making equal payments. Took a look at how we can use the TVM solver to help us calculate the compound interest for that loan, and just some consumer credit stuff here in example number 4. So what we're going to take a look at now is we're going to take a look at credit cards, which are very important. Chances are a lot of you are going to be owning credit cards pretty shortly. So it's really important to understand how they work and how they don't work so you can avoid the sort of trouble that you can get into using credit cards. So the biggest thing to understand about credit cards is they are not free money, okay? Everything you spend, every cent that you spend with a credit card must be paid back, right? And what a lot of people don't realize is that credit cards, uh, they're loans, they are loans, and they have some of the highest interest rates that you can find for any sort of loan. Um, Depending on which credit card you sign up for, the interest rate can vary, but it's usually around 20% per year, which is massive. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how they work. Um, Pretty much all credit cards in Canada, they have what's known as a grace period. Okay, so that is a period of time where you do not incur interest on your purchase. Okay, so in Canada, for the most part, the grace period is about a month. It's about 30 days. So what that means is you can buy something and the interest on it doesn't get charged until 30 days later. So you do get some time to pay off your loan before you get, or to pay off your purchase, which is effectively a loan, before they start charging you interest. Okay. Of course, once you pass that point, you are charged interest. Um, let's see. Yeah, we already talked about that second point. The interest rate is much higher than usual. Um, there is also every month a minimum payment that is required. You can't just not pay for a month. The way that the minimum payment is calculated, typically it's either $10 or 3% of your outstanding balance, whichever is more. Okay. Um, if you don't make that minimum payment, you don't remain in what you can, or what the credit card company considers good standing. They may charge you fees for not paying the amount on time. Okay. You can also borrow cash against your credit card. That is something you can do. However, when you do that, interest is charged immediately. There is no grace period. So if you do withdraw cash from your credit card, the interest is charged immediately. And the interest is actually charged on the entire balance uh, from the previous month's statement. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look here at an example statement. So we got a lot of things here. So it looks like um, this statement arrived December 23rd. They are ending their grace period here on January 16th. That is where the payment must come in. The minimum payment for this balance is going to be $37.88. There wasn't any payment from the um, previous month. So we can look here. there was a balance carried over of 1728.44. There was another purchase at, it looks like a electronics store, $858.56. There was another payment here, or sorry, I should say another purchase here, another purchase, another purchase, another purchase. Here we have a payment. As you can see, it's a negative value. And then we have another purchase here. Okay, explain the entry 1728.44. So that is this one right here. So a payment was made, paying back the money. Because as we can see, the previous balance was 1728.44. So this person paid their balance off entirely from the previous month with that payment. Okay. Calculate the new balance. Well, that is, of course, as we just said, the previous balance was 1728.44. That was paid off later in the month, but there was a few other purchases. There's this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. If we added all of those together, we would get the new balance for the credit card. In this case, that would end up being, let me see here. I have it written down somewhere. It's going to be 1262.57. So that's the total that will be on the next statement's balance. Okay? So that's just the sum of all charges. Minus any payments, of course. All right. Minimum payment, $37.88. How was that calculated? Okay. So this one comes back to understanding that you get either a minimum balance of $10 or 3% of the total balance, whichever is greater. So because this is not $10, we can assume that this is going to be 3% of the purchase price. Or not the purchase price, the final balance here, which was $1262.57. So if we took $1262.57, we multiply that by 3%. I'm just going to confirm that here in my calculator. Yep, we get 37.88 if we round it to 2 decimal places. Okay, so in this case, the 3% of the balance was greater than $10, so that is what the next month's minimum payment is going to be. And here's a question. Why may the date of posting, which means the time when the money is actually applied against your credit card, different from the date of the transaction, the day where you actually purchased it? It just takes a few days to process the payment typically for the credit cards. So although you might make a payment close to the end of one statement, if it takes a few days to process, it might actually appear on the next month's statement. So that's just something to keep in mind, that your purchases may take a few days to show up on your credit card. Okay, so it may take a few days for purchases and payments to appear on your card. So just something to keep in mind. If you get your first credit card and you make your first payment, don't panic right away when you go online and you check your balance and you see that no total, there hasn't been a change in the total after you've made the payment. Don't panic. It does take a few days, so don't worry about that. Okay, so that's all for this week. Nothing extra after that. So the last assignment was on page 524. So again, we'll do page 524. And what did I say to go to question 5 last time? No, question 6. So this one we'll do number 6 until the end, I believe. I think there's 10 questions, so 6 to 10, I believe. I could be wrong, could be 11, could be 12, I'm not too sure. But in either case, that's everything that we're going to discuss for this section. Okay, so that's going to be all for this week. Remember, we are letting you guys back into the building, so if you are concerned about your math mark, whether or not you're going to be passing, let me know, send me an email, or contact me through Discord. If you're concerned, I can always take a look, or we can bring you in and we can see what we can do to get you into passing shape for the year. But other than that, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.